video is dedicated to anger. How we should interpret the anger, what is the meaning of anger, why anger exists. So in order to explain all of these points, we have to go back, and specifically we are going to go back to Freud and the concept of drive. So drive is separated from instinct because drive needs to have four different elements. One is an aim, one is the object, one is pressure, and the other one is source. Specifically, source is the somatic location, how we feel it in our body, for instance, right? The object is the thing required. The aim might be completely different from the object. For instance, are we completely sure that when a baby cries because we think he or she is hungry and wants her or his mother's breast, are we completely sure that the objective, the aim, is to have milk? Because maybe the thing required is the milk, but the aim could be to feel the contact and the union, at least in initial stage, in initial moment, with their mother's breast, right? And so it is to feel that sort of unity. And therefore, in that sense, the aim of any sort of drive is satisfaction, is to get satisfaction. The pressure is that type of urgency that is ascribed to a drive. Now, we also have to distinguish between what is an external drive, that is something very temporary, and what is an internal drive that will be always constant, right? And we have also to measure with that internal drive, because an internal drive is constant, has usually, in general terms, less of a pressure, and it could be either inhibited or deflected, or it could find its realization in different ways, through sublimation, for instance, according to Freud. Now, according to Freud, drives are mobile fluctuations. They could be displaced, they could be subjected to reversal or detours. So what is anger in relation to those drives? Is the experience of a failure of that desire to be realized in reality. And that is according to Lacan. Lacan provided us with that definition. It's a form of discontent, to use in part Freud's words. It's a form of discontent towards the satisfaction and realization of that drive. And anger contains that persistence and that bitterness and that rancor that comes with not realizing and not driving into reality, into a concrete world, that drive. So anger can become a structural force, a permanent body political source of urgent agitation for change. But what do we have to do with anger? For instance, we know that the Buddhism really sort of bans anger at all, saves nothing out of the anger. The Western tradition is slightly different. In Western tradition, we tend to save at least part of anger for us to be able to channel into action, into positive action, the frustration that we feel accompanies the dissatisfaction of our drive. So I want to read from this essay, which is on anger, which is anger is as permanent as the offenses that provoked it. Steal from me and you will have stolen from me irrevocably. Whatever restitutive efforts you might make to assuage my anger, the original theft cannot be undone. Thus, once you have a reason to be angry, you have a reason to be angry forever. I think that's important. Once you have a reason to be angry, you will be angry forever. That's pivotal. It's something we have not understood. We do not educate our children to be prepared to deal with in life. And it's something so radical, right? Once you have a reason to be angry, you will be angry forever. And it's not just in reference to a specific episode. It's once you experience that, but you still are unable to deal with anger, then every time any dissatisfaction of drive will present itself, you will be angry, and that sort of anger will reinforce itself. So in that sense, many philosophers, from Martha Nussbaum to many others, have said, save of anger what is positive, right? But to leave aside all the negative feelings. In a certain sense, it's pick out of anger the theory, the structure, the force, but sort of like neglects, ignore, reduce to a bare minimum when it is possible all the negative feelings, because they destroy the person from the inside, right? There's a meaning of anger that is that of uniting a person, right? A fragmented person that is very angry might be very united through anger, in a form of paradoxical way, which is not that paradoxical, because anger also gives you a purpose, gives you a meaning, right? But every time I feel we have to ask ourselves, is this really worth it? And to ask that question and have the lucidity, the clear thinking, the mind so clear to understand that probably it isn't, that's a whole different story. And there's definitely a struggle there to realize what anger does to one's body and to one's mind. I want to read one little quote that says, while repetitive efforts cannot change what was done to me, they can change the meaning and significance they hold. And that is why I think it's so important for us to have accountability, right? I don't live in a world where if I get angry, my total and unique responsibility of my anger is me. Maybe in this sense I'm wrong, right? But on the other hand, I do acknowledge, and it might not be true for everybody out there, I do acknowledge that it's so important for other people that have caused us to be angry, to take responsibility for their action, to ask for forgiveness, right? And sure, you would hope and you would want that they ask for forgiveness in a way that is sincere, so you can move on, because that allows you to have closure and to move on. And sometimes you don't have that, and in that sense it is heartbreaking that people will not even understand or put an effort in trying to understand what that does to somebody that has been hurt so deeply, for instance. It depends. Sometimes you have anger over nothing, right? But on the one hand, there's this perspective. On the other hand, there could be a perspective of it is your anger, you have to deal with it, right? Sometimes you might not have the tools or all the tools, so you might require more time than others, you know. And not cultivating anger, it's just something that could be very easy to some people and could be very difficult to other people. But anger is the foundation, and in that sense there's a beautiful book on anger, which is on themis and human nature, and I'm gonna go there. And I was saying that anger is the foundation of Western world, Western society, from the Greek. Homer starts saying wrath, naming rage, right? And the meaning of that anger is precisely that it cannot be satisfied, that not restitutive gesture could adequate to it. And that is why Achilles suffers so much. And in that sense, I was saying that the Western society, the Western world has sprung sort of out of that anger. It's the anger of Achilles. It's not just the anger of Achilles, but it's also the anger of Achilles. Homer starts with that anger, naming that anger. The ancient Greeks had a name for that anger. They identified that anger with a specific name that was themis, right? It's so incredibly interesting how that word is also so strictly connected to vitality, to force, to pushing towards an action. But what do we do with that is also incredibly important for our lives, right? I would like to say that we shouldn't be deterred by anger, but it is also, and that is surely a personal point of view, difficult not to be deterred by the anger we might feel at times. Anyway, that's it, guys. I want to hear your comments, and because I cannot hear, I'm gonna read your comments. So comment below, let us know your thoughts, and if you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll talk next time in a new video. Bye.